Hi everyone, welcome to check out what's new in Airbnb's business model. We are looking at Airbnb's quarterly report Q2 23. This is not investment advice, just check out our disclaimer. And yeah, let's start with the financials. Very strong, in line with guidance. Number of bookings increased by 11% year on year, and the gross bookings value increased by 13%. This was in part driven by increasing ADRs, average daily rates, and revenue increased by 18%, solid growth to 2.5 billion in the quarter, and it's been a few quarters in a row that they were profitable. So net income 650 million, which is 28% net margin, and operating margin was 21%, and the reason was that they had interest income. Interesting financial and economic updates. If you look here, the ones I found the most interesting were the quarterly comparisons to pre-pandemic. So doubled pretty much from pre-pandemic. The gross booking value, pretty impressive. And yeah, the year-on-year comparison of the ADRs, average daily rates, it's been increasing to pre-pandemic to 38 or around the 40% in the most recent quarters. And that in part drives the booking value growth. So next, key economic trends, just a few things that they found interesting to call out. Basically, bookings growth, so demand side, let's start with the demand side. Bookers grew in every region, and they had also more first-time bookers. Guests are traveling farther, so further. Easing off all the COVID restrictions, not really surprising, and they are staying longer. And when they say longer, they talk really about the trend of remaining flexible where you live and work. We'll have a few more figures on that in a moment. Supply side trends, very important for them. There's been a little bit of criticism or observation, whatever you want to call it, that Airbnb bookings get more expensive. Therefore, you'll see one theme throughout this presentation or throughout the update was growing the supply side so that prices would come down. So supply and demand, if demand outstrips supply growth, then prices will go up even further. So therefore, pretty important to grow the supply side. Therefore, double-digit growth in all regions, as well as urban and non-urban. And here in basically a summary of some of those trends, domestic and short distance travel remains strong. Improvements on longer distance, but still well below what was pre-pandemic. Growth long-term or long distance trips grew by 20%, and people are starting to return to the cities, which has been 57% of their bookings in 2019, and currently it's 48%. Trip length, so this is interesting, 28 days plus, makes 18% of their gross nights booked, and of that 25% are stays of 3 month plus. And on that one, they see basically, we'll get to that in a moment, they introduce new tools which further boosted kind of the 1 to 3 month duration stays. Very interesting. And that's probably really a distinguisher from hotels. All right, business model updates, Q2 23, the main things that they call out. As you probably know by now, has been a few years that they've done this, or at least I'm pretty sure 2 years. They have the summer and winter release of their app, where they have around 50 new innovations or improvements. And the ones that they wanted to call out this time was the pricing tool to support the supply side. Again, it does go a little bit into the theme of, I don't want to call it overpriced stays, but tendency to higher prices. So they have redesigned the tool for hosts. They made it easier to apply discounts and promotions, especially on longer stays. What they also have is similar listing tools. So basically hosts can see in their own area on the map how much the prices are on similar listings. And obviously the thinking here is that people will want to undercut each other so that they get the guests. And they have more transparent pricing in that they will, that the host can exactly see what the guests will see, which previously was not necessarily the case. Then what they have observed since they've introduced this, I think this was really introduced towards the back end of Q1, they have definitely seen and they repeated mentioning that that hosts have started to lower their prices, especially with discounts on weekly and monthly stays. They then, as mentioned, see greater affordability, and they saw a growth in bookings, especially in the long-term bookings. And they saw that in particular after introducing this tool. Now, if you know about lodging as well as air travel, revenue management systems are very, very sophisticated. It's something like black magic there. They really, no hotel room costs the same, changes every day, up and down. It depends on when you book, how much in advance, how short, and which events are on, how much are things already booked, and so on. And these revenue management systems, they look ahead which events will be taking place and make predictions, and yeah, really ramp up the prices for rooms and flights ahead of these kind of things getting near to being booked out. So this tool that they introduced is definitely not the same. What they do have, and what they had for a while, is the smart pricing tool. So basically, hosts can let the machine price their stay. But again, from my understanding of those algorithms, it is more in line with what people are looking for. So it is not necessarily looking always with a very long lead time on which events will be taking place. That I think that they take also into account, but it does sound from what when you read the descriptions, it is different from revenue management systems in hotels and air travel. But that's definitely one of the key callouts. Airbnb rooms as well has been around from sometime in Q1, but they've been calling it out during the earnings call quite a bit. So again, goes into the affordability theme and a little bit back to the roots. Obviously, now that COVID is kind of tapering off, you can stay easier with other people in their places. And what they have introduced is the host passport. That was, I think, in May. And that is basically targeting the trust theme. People do want to know who comes to their place, but more importantly, also who is the owner of the place. So here you see these kind of profiles. There's also new filters, etc., with that the rooms have a separate lock and so on. Again, goes against the or towards the trust theme. Opportunities that they see in relation to this: cheaper prices. They want to increase demand, and they also want to increase their penetration with Gen Z as well as lower price sensitive segments. You want to attract new hosts, those that can sublet individual rooms and that get help with cost of living or paying off the mortgage. And what's really important is in quite a few cities, or in most cities really, in most metropolitan cities, there are all sorts of limits now on Airbnb. Was triggered a long time ago, nothing to do with the pandemic. And many places, many cities have like limits like 120 days a year or something like that that you can rent out individual housing, but individual rooms, they are most of the times not subject to these kind of things. So in that case, it really helps their good citizen image, and it does add supply all year round as well. And then with $67 average room, that is certainly cheaper than most hotels as well. So here are Brian Chesky, co-founder and CEO. He's been renting out one of his rooms for a long time. This is how it looks. Here's how you can book it, but it's booked out for the next 2 years, which is the booking horizon that you can see on Airbnb. Here's his card, so here's his personal passport with details and so on. And he doesn't have 5.0 score, 4.88. Another one, they've been actually, this was from late 2022. This is an actual house. This is how it looks in the listing. They've been on the money, and it's part of their only on Airbnb campaign, which has been going for not quite a year, but it's been going for a little while. This particular one had 250 million social media impressions. There you go. People really pay attention to the important things, don't they? Anyway, let's move on to strategic priorities. And here, what they call out, three things. Supply side growth, again, goes towards the affordability thing. And definitely they had seen a big dip in supply. No surprise there with COVID. but now they're working on raising awareness and improving the tools towards the supply side. Q2 active listings increased by 19%. Remember, number of bookings had increased by 11%, so there's a bit of growth of the supply side being larger than the demand side. So, and that's across all regions, market types, and price points. That's what they add there. Strongest net add quarter and 7 million total active listings, which is the highest on record. Apologies. Second priority, perfect the core service. So 50 new features in the upgrade, summer upgrade. And as you know, so there's always a summer and a winter upgrade. And they look at the feedback that comes in and have all the updates that you can find on their website. And then the third one, a bit more mysterious and long term, expand beyond the core, build foundational capabilities for new products and services that we plan to launch in the years to come. So Brian Chesky has been saying in a few words where he could see things coming up. Airbnb experiences, he went on that it is very popular. It has 95% 5 stars versus 84% 5 stars on stays. And they said the product was ready to scale before COVID, and now they really ready to rock and roll on that space. So see that coming soonish, I guess. Then they were talking about services for guests and hosts. He called out Etsy and Amazon and a few others who really monetize well on services, in particular for the supply side. As you know, probably from our Etsy coverage, it made 25% of their quarter one revenues in 23. So that's not nothing. That's quite negligible. And he spoke about paid placements of homes. So we're talking about ads here. More and more platforms do that, including Uber. So that's really, it's not easy to build an ad platform, but that's going to come, I would assume, almost certainly. When, that's not clear, but likely to come. Then they were talking about services for guests, where the challenge is to scale, but he said basically they feel they got enough scale in quite a few markets. So let's see what they will come up with. He was referring to services in hotels. So let's see, that'll be interesting. And he called AI, artificial intelligence, even though it was not as frequent as in some other presentations by word count, he was very enthusiastic about it, once in a lifetime generation platform shift, and called it a huge opportunity for them to be the leading engine of innovation for the years to come. So very exciting updates, and basically here's everything smashed into the business model canvas. So key partners, hosts renting out rooms, and due to affordability, longer stays. The app improvements on the key activities side, as well as the marketing only on Airbnb campaign. Then assets and resources. The growing inventory of homes and AI-powered tech innovation to come. Lower price stays, as mentioned, was a key theme, and app improvements, good citizen image, and so on. So basically everything that we talked through, you see here in one image. And check out our premium products. This one has a book and videos on Airbnb as well. So check it out. You'll be not disappointed. Again, disclaimer, no investment advice here, and hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much.